Hi, this is Revealer, and today the topic is what is true alchemy? So, true alchemy is knowing that the soul is ether, earth, oxygen, water, and fire. That is the natural makeup of the soul, the elements of the soul. The soul does the alchemy, the alchemizing, not the human, not the persona, not the mind. The soul needs to be soul-centered, not mind-centered, not body-centered. So when the persona, the human, is mind-centered, it is actually off-center because the soul is not in the center. And the center isn't a tangible place that we can point to. It's a word used to explain that the soul is the essence of that which we are, that within the matrix, the mind has been encouraged and promoted to be in charge, which means it's in the center, and therefore the person is off-center. When the body is in the center, once again, the soul isn't in charge, but the body is in charge. So when you're constantly body conscious, body conscious, body conscious, body conscious, body conscious, that means that the person is off-center. So there's a saying that goes mind, body, soul. When you say mind, body, soul, that means that the body is in the center. And when you say body, mind, soul, that means that the mind is in the center. So the true expression outside the matrix is body, soul, mind. Then what a person ends up having is a sound mind, which is soul mind, and a soul body. And the soul knows. So what is that? When the soul knows, that's not knowledge. That's not about having learned. That's the mind game. The mind teaches us to learn and to believe and calculate and formulate and extrapolate to come to a conclusion. You know, right or wrong, this or that, pros and cons, that's all matrix based. The soul knows. It's all knowing. And when you're experiencing, you just know and you can't explain it. And there isn't any way to explain it. You just know that means that you are soul-centered. That means that the soul is revealing to you, you know this, you know this, you know this. And it's not really that you know this, but for words to explain, it's just you know. And you act upon that which you know. You take action upon that. Then you know, and you take action upon that. And you know, and you take action upon that. That's what a lot of athletes call being in the zone. When you are the expression of the essence that you are, the soul, there isn't any thinking, there isn't learning, there isn't researching, there isn't dissecting and analyzing, there isn't fault finding. You just know. And that really aggravates and irritates the characters within the matrix, the players that are being played in the play by the writer, which is the architect, by the script writer, the architect. There's all of these players that are being played. And when they come across that which isn't a player, which is just soul expressing, and they say, why? Soul doesn't have why. Soul doesn't do question and answer. Soul doesn't have problem solution. That's matrix. And so those players get so aggravated and get triggered and furious and will argue and attempt to force you to prove what you know. Soul doesn't prove anything. Soul knows. Soul is omnipotent. Soul is omnipresent. Soul knows. So the more often that you are experiencing and expressing as soul, being soul-centered, the mind and the body are completely guided, if you will. Oh gosh, these are all matrix words. They're in the essence of the soul. The body is actually made up of ether, earth, oxygen, water, and fire. That's the natural makeup of the physical body. The natural makeup of the physical body is also gold, silver, copper, zinc, and iron. We have those trace metals within our cells. No, you don't go out and buy a piece of gold and suck on it. But we have those innately within the physical expression. They can become depleted because when you're not soul-centered, the physical body breaks down. The expression called the physical body, if it were to stay soul-centered from the time of inception, the physical body would never have an issue. It would never have an ailment. It would never break down. It wouldn't experience aging. Sure, it can mature, if you will. It can grow into what we would label an adult body, but it doesn't age in the nature that it's not breaking down, it's not getting sick, it's not wearing out. The mind, when it's in the center, oh boy, that's the way that we've been raised, is that the mind is the most powerful thing that we should listen to. If we don't listen to our mind, if you don't have a powerful mind, then you're going to be in trouble. Those who have a powerful mind are in the most amount of trouble. If they plan on being outside of the matrix. Free your mind. The mind, when it's freed, is actually listening, getting its knowing from the soul. All the programs that the architect has put in place are implemented by the mind. Not my mind, but the mind. The mind is the one that projects the fear, the doubt, the blame, the judgment, the worry, the stress, the anxiety, the sadness, the depression, the guilt, the shame, the panic, the labels. Oh, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of programs. And I will cover that in more depth in a separate recording. But for today, true alchemy is the soul manifesting within the matrix. The mind materializes. That is why the statement, we're living in a material world. The programs of failure and success, the mind. See, within the matrix, there's always an opposite to everything. So there's wealth, and then there's poverty. Within the matrix, there's an opposite. Everything. As soul, there are no opposites. As soul, there isn't positive and negative. That's the matrix. Positive and negative is because the matrix created you to be a battery. Architect is the comedy out of comedy and tragedy. The play of the human experience is comedy and tragedy, and the architect gets to experience the comedy of it. Oh, you might say, but there's people that have everything and they have all this wealth. Well, within the matrix is a program called the setup to be upset. You get set up so that you get upset. The appearance that these people who have all this wealth, that they're happy, that's the illusion that the architect is feeding you to make you feel like you're missing out. Within the matrix, players have sold their souls completely, or pieces of their soul. We didn't know any differently. But now we are waking up and we know that we do not sell our soul for anything. Anything. So, alchemy. When I make a posting saying that I'm alchemizing fear to the power of everyone, that means as soul, alchemizing fear to the power of everyone. So it's not just for myself, it's not just for a handful, it's for all. Alchemizing fear. And when it gets alchemized, what that means is that consciousness now goes from being the consciousness of the mind or the body, it goes back to, it comes out of the matrix energy and it returns back to its essence, its pristine essence, the soul. Then what happens is that alchemy, that is the soul, it goes into the program that the architect has created within the matrix. And it dissolves it. And when it doesn't exist anymore, what is in that place, because you can't leave a void there, it's soul. Soul is there then. So every time I alchemize fear, it's because there's fear attached to this, and 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 blame and shame and guilt and sorrow and grief and depression and hate and rage and anger. And when you're holding on to love, love is a program. Because if it wasn't a program, you wouldn't feel pain. You wouldn't feel rejection. You wouldn't feel loss. All the things that tag along with this program called love. I love this so much. I love my country. I'm going to kill other people for it. Well, because of love, there have been hundreds of countries that have fought in the name of love, which is actually hate. Love and hate, same coin. Okay? What you feel for another person when it's true, when it's real, is that soul connection. It's the soul. And I'm not going out into religious, spiritual, oh, you're my soulmate and that sort of thing. I'm not talking about that. That's what I'm not talking about. I'm speaking into the essence, the absolute, that which is absolute. That's soul. Absolute. You can't touch it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. It doesn't have form. It doesn't have dimension. It doesn't have matter, energy, space, or time. That's soul, the absolute. So, alchemy. Does it have anything to do with controlling your sexual activity? I've seen articles on that and books on it. Well, you don't want to control, because whatever you try to control is going to fight you back. Okay? Control is a program of the matrix. So, really knowing that the sexual activity, one person is actually gaining your life force. That's why one person feels really good, and then the other person not as good as the other person. That's why it chooses a form of manipulation. To not be sexually active, it's not about fighting against those urges. It's understanding that it's a program. And yes, there are all kinds of mind projections that are going on out there in the matrix that are triggering people to have extremely powerful sexual urges, and they are programs of the matrix. You see somebody and your hormones go flying all over the place. Those are projections put in place by the matrix. And they seem so incredibly challenging to resist. So it's not about resisting it. It's knowing it, what it really is. Know that it is a manipulating program, manipulating you physically to give up, to release your soul essence to another person, to a player in the matrix. Exactly what the architect wants you to do. To release and relinquish essence of your soul. Now this, I know some people like this, probably already turned off the recording when I started talking to about this. If you're still listening, thank you. It doesn't mean that you can't ever have a physical relationship with somebody. That relationship is going to be with another person that is soul-centered. Soul essence, because it's soul and soul. Soul and soul. So, just wanted to put that out there. Alchemy. Soul-centered, and the soul then alchemizes the program. When you know what that program is, you stop and you acknowledge the essence that you are, which is soul, and alchemize. Alchemize it. It's not about judgment. It's not about blame. It's just know that that's a program. So when I'm posting online and I'm speaking into alchemizing, it is not a judgment against a person, place, thing, or activity. I'm alchemizing the underlying program. I'm alchemizing the underlying program of control, or I'm alchemizing the underlying program of power. I'm alchemizing the underlying program. The mind is not going to tell you what that is. You get a trigger that emotionally charges you. Whew, boy, that's the red flag. That's the warning, Will Rogers. You stop. You allow yourself to be soul-centered. Keep the mind out of it. You're not fighting against the mind. You keep the mind out of it. You keep the dialogue out of it. You keep the stories out of it. And you just sit in whatever it is. You sit in it and it'll reveal to you. Perhaps the program is traditions. Perhaps the program is religion. Perhaps the program is labels. When it's revealed to you, then the trigger is gone. That reveals that the soul is alchemizing that. And that's where whatever is revealed, I say, taking the program of fear to the power of everyone. I'm alchemizing that back into ether, earth, oxygen, water, fire, gold, silver, copper, zinc, iron, and I'm sending that soul consciousness back into that program called fear and alchemized. Thank you for listening, and please share, retweet, like, post comments, send me emails. Have a cosmic day.